The very first plot of Classroom of the Elite was how Ayanokoji tries to live a normal life inside this abnormal school. We still remember how he was desperate to find a friend, and how he was so happy just because he talked to Kushida. Ayanokoji from that time was just a nobody who wasn't even worthy to breathe the same air as Horikita, but after 2 years of a roller coaster journey, it's now Horikita's turn to be desperate, trying to breathe the same air as Ayanokoji. Despite his original plan, Ayanokoji is now one of the most famous students in school, but he is not exactly famous in a good way. Some people fear him, some people respect him, and the others just cannot get enough of him. It's hard to describe Ayanokoji's popularity in a few words, so let's just take a look at it one by one. As for the newest volume of the third-year arc, Ayanokoji's current popularity is a mix of indifference and hatred. He is not the type who is popular because he can get along with everyone just like Ichinose, but the type who is popular simply because everyone know about him. Ayanokoji is famous mostly because he transferred to the lower class. Transferring class itself is already rare, so transferring to the lower class will surely become a topic for discussion. A similar case happened with Katsuragi, but Katsuragi's transfer didn't create too much fuss because his hatred towards Sakayanagi had already become public knowledge, so his case was understandable. However, Ayanokoji's transfer leaves so many mysteries that he himself refuses to answer, so all the conspiracy theories keep the flame from fading away. Ayanokoji's transfer is probably one of the biggest news in the history of ANHS, because even the underclassmen talk about it. The underclassmen are pretty much unrelated to Ayanokoji, so they should have no problem with his transfer and just treat it as a topic of discussion. However, for the third-year students, his transfer brings a really big storm, especially for Horikita's class. It's needless to say that most of the students in Horikita's class hate Ayanokoji for his action. The newest volume made it clear that even though he doesn't violate any rules, they despise his action as a betrayal. It's worth mentioning that the ANHS system supports this kind of action, which means that they give room for betrayal to happen instead of fully supporting the cooperation inside the class. Back to Ayanokoji, he is clearly hated in his old class, excluding a few weirdos like Koenji. Even in his new class, the students' perception toward Ayanokoji is still mixed. Some people support him to become their leader, some people still have their doubts, and others just keep their mouths shut even though they don't like him. It's interesting that no one seems to openly oppose Ayanokoji, because they probably know that Ayanokoji is their only hope to reach Class A again. Getting a perfect score in Volume 1 exam clearly helps Ayanokoji maintain his status as the smartest in a class full of smart students. Even with the mixed feelings, the former Class A still acknowledge him as their leader. Once again, this fact shows us how different Class A students are compared to Class D students, where Horikita needed almost a year just to be acknowledged as the leader. As for the other two classes, they have no direct business with Ayanokoji, so his transfer doesn't really become a bother for them, except for a small group of students. For example, some girls in Ichinose's class clearly view Ayanokoji in a positive light thanks to Ichinose's public confession in front of her classmates. Even before he transferred class, they already saw him in a positive light thanks to Ichinose, which is problematic because Ayanokoji still had a girlfriend back then. Back in Volume 9 second year arc, Ichinose spent quite a long time waiting in front of Ayanokoji's room. That was a time when students were going back to their dorms, so a lot of students must have seen her waiting for Ayanokoji. Ichinose is one of the most famous students in school, so ever since that day, Ayanokoji has been infamous just because Ichinose put her attention on him. The newest volume also mentions this topic, where Kaneda shows his jealousy toward Ayanokoji. Turns out there is a rumor circulating that Ichinose has thrown herself as Ayanokoji's girlfriend candidate ever since he broke up with Kei. Once again, Ichinose is one of the most popular students at school, so there will be a lot of men who want her attention. That rumor alone was already enough to make Ayanokoji their target of hatred, and it was just Ichinose alone, not counting all the girls who are interested in him. Ayanokoji is canonically a very attractive man. Ever since the first volume, he was ranked 5th in terms of good looks, and now after he finally showed what he is capable of, a lot of girls will line up with love letters in their hands. He is a genius with extraordinary physical ability, and with his status as a class leader and some mysterious unexplainable aura, it will be strange if he does not become the target of envy. If Hirata is a handsome boy who is adored by many thanks to his kindness, Ayanokoji walks into a different path of popularity. He is not kind, or at least he is not without a defect. According to Ika, there are rumors going around that Ayanokoji is responsible for the expulsion of Sakura and Meizono. Unfortunately, this is not just a rumor, because they already witnessed with their own eyes that Ayanokoji actually did that. Ayanokoji already has several bad rumors about him, and it's mostly thanks to Meizono, who exposed him in volume 9.5. To put it simply, Ayanokoji is a traitor who hides himself in the dark, and only start to use his ability to fight his former classmates, and that kind of rumor wouldn't look good in his CV. The more the story progresses, the more his former classmates will realize his dark secret, so sooner or later Ayanokoji's popularity will be on par with Riwen's. It's not like Ayanokoji's popularity will affect him badly, but from the outsider's perspective, it will be harder for Ayanokoji to gain a cooperative network with anyone. His former classmates will definitely reject him, and Riwen will lick Horikita's feet before he accepts Ayanokoji's offer, so among the third year, Ichinose class is the only one who is on a good terms with him. As for the underclassmen, Ayanokoji surprisingly has quite a good image in their eyes. Transferring to the lower class is questionable, but the class leaders at least have a good gist of his ability. Tsukishiro once put a bounty on his head, and the entire point of the uninhabited island exam was to expel him from school, which they failed spectacularly. That alone should be enough to convince them about his ability, and since his transfer doesn't have anything to do with them, they wouldn't have any negative feelings toward him. There are always some exceptions like Hosen who always wants to pick a fight, but the rest of the second years view Ayanokoji quite highly. Not to mention the rumor about his T-Rex must have been spread quite a lot, so instead of fear, they will be more curious of him. So far Ayanokoji has not yet had any interaction with the first-year students, but they must have heard about him thanks to his transfer. I doubt they will have a chance to interact in the future, but even if they do, Ichinose is the one who will handle negotiation instead of Ayanokoji. No matter how bad Ayanokoji's reputation is, Ichinose's reputation will be enough to balance the scale, which is another reason why their cooperation is perfect. In conclusion, Ayanokoji is undoubtedly famous, but not in a good way. Most people keep their distance from him, but always watching him because he is undoubtedly a formidable enemy. Depending on the future development, Ayanokoji's reputation could become worse, because he wouldn't hesitate to expel even his own classmates, and not even Ichinose's reputation could help him when the time comes. Ever since he chose to leave the class, Ayanokoji's normal life is officially over. He should have prepared even if the entire school will hate him, and maybe even his own classmates will turn against him. I don't know how far he will go, but this is the path that he chose, so Ayanokoji will walk on it no matter how much hatred he will get.